Hello, everyone, and good morning. Nice to be again with you. I hope that you have had a wonderful weekend. Our weekend has been very busy as well. We had a wonderful seminar at Rochester Temple. If you would like, you can join our Patreon page. We'll be releasing the video, the recording of that seminar and segments coming up soon. Also, monthly on Patreon, we'll be holding seminars as well as other private events. So if you can join, please join. The reason why we put it on Patreon is because, again, any support would be appreciated because we have to do many things, including traveling and taking care of equipment, etc. So all of your Dhyana and the Ofuse is very much appreciated to support our mission. And again, I'm so glad I can be here with all of you today. So with that, let us begin our meditation practice, our Dhyana practice, as we were saying. Let us go ahead and make sure that we're sitting. One of the most important aspects that people don't quite understand, and it was interesting because one young man yesterday actually knew, which I was very impressed. The meaning of asana means seat. And it means seat because this is a place of meditation. We be in our seat. Seat can also mean this lower part of our body is for being prepared for meditation. So our seat being prepared properly is very important. Also, that's why through asana we strengthen, through postures, we strengthen the sitting posture. Okay, so let's make sure that we have those 3 points of contact. If you're in a chair, your feet are flat. Move up in the front of your chair, so just the back side of your buttocks are sitting. A lot of people sit too far back. And you want to have it that's very, you're sitting on a cushion or a chair that there's right on the beginning of your backside, you can feel this, that your body feels straight, that there is this kind of balance. A lot of people have never experienced that before. So it's important to find that point of balance. Let's find that point of balance. You can actually move left to right like a pendulum, big to small, front to back. Then we can go ahead and put our chin in a little bit. The reason for this is a very important because this allows the energy or prana to come in and out of our body as easily and unconstricted as possible. Closing your teeth, putting your tongue above the upper roof of your mouth, closing your eyes. And first what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 purifying breaths. Just a moment. So we'll go ahead and do our pranayama. So we'll breathe in through our nose, hold, and exhale through our mouth. Let's begin. Round 1, breathe in, hold, exhale. Good. Second round, hold, exhale. Last round, hold, and exhale. Now we're going to close our mouth again, and we're going to begin breathing through our nose, in and out. Exhalation, we use the Daimoku Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Inhalation, simply observe. This is stopping and seeing. Now it says in the text, as I've said many times, but I like to reiterate this because it's actually important. Imagine a blade of grass here. And they say it's about 12 fingers. So this is about 10, 12, okay? Right here. And with your breath, without becoming too harsh or too loud or controlled with our tandem, we would make that blade of grass move just a little bit. And then from that blade of grass, we breathe in. And as we breathe in, we simply observe the breath as it comes into the nature. So we're concentrating and seeing. Stopping, we stop our mind with a daimoku, a mantra, and we breathe in. Okay? So with that, let us prepare ourselves. Take a moment to check in with yourselves, of your state, of mind, breathing, body, just for a moment, no judgment, just observing mindfully. And with this, let us go into our concentrated practice of using the daimoku with the sound of the bell. Enter into your concentration. Hold that concentration. Do not move. Focus on the daimoku. So whenever you have a problem, come back to the daimoku. Come back to the daimoku. Come back to the daimoku. Let us begin. Let us release our concentration, bring our attention back to our body. Let us take a moment to mindfully assess our body, mind, breathing. Bring our attention back to our body even more. Start to move your fingers, toes, rubbing your hands together. Press over the eyes. Thank you very much, everyone. One question that I had yesterday was this question of practice. That in everyone's how do you say, busy day, how does one continue one's practice to be effective? With all of the challenges that one has in their daily life that can tend to distract. Most importantly, I say to people that there are two main aspects that we should always keep in mind. That is consistency. And then also in consistency, um, having the right attitude. What does that mean? We've spoken about it before, having the right attitude of being positive. Um, one great teacher, actually, the person who, or a great yogi, Edwin Bryant, who did the translation of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, he always says, yeah, people get so frustrated with the practice. However, they don't see in the proper perspective that if we have many lives and this is just but one short life span that we have all of this amazing, how do you say, deep karma, these samskaras, these imprints on our mind, these klesha, these afflictions that we're working through. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of challenging, and that actually in this life, having the form as a human being, having the mentality as a human being, because people may not be aware, but in most teachings, karma is only something that humans um, can remove. That actually in other rebirths, that they're simply working through the karma of that particular birth. And that we as humans, and this is why many people maybe not do not know why the Buddha kept saying, being born as a human is a, optimal rebirth. You say, oh, well, yeah, I get it. We have a thinking on that. But actually, within the context of, how do you say, Indic tradition or teaching amongst all of the schools, and this idea of karma, and obviously the concepts of Buddhist karma are a little different. But one of the main things that is said that humans are able to change the karma. That means that with the kind of consciousness that we have, rather than instinctual consciousness or um, one's, how do you say, simple nature, right? So there's a whole theory of karma. It's very interesting to know about that. Actually, that karma fits the form of the rebirth, and that in that rebirth they have to pay the certain amount of karma. But being born as a human takes a very special opportunity and cultivation. So therefore, the human life is precious because we have this consciousness, this awareness that we can be able to work. They call it buddhi or intellect, to work through um, these samskara uh, and klesha or afflictions, that we can change them from a klesha, which is affliction, to a klesha, which is a non-affliction, which is actually a positive action. And then a samskara, we can change the samskara to a samskara by the imprints, whatever we experience with the Dharma, with the teaching, that we should change that and make a positive imprint, that the next time we experience something, the karma had changed. Now, of course, in the end, all of those are removed, but all of those are purified and removed, but the imprints stay in the nature of the being. So therefore, these imprints, even the Buddha had to work through each of them. That every time we come across a situation, those samskara, those imprints, those mental images that we have, the past experience come out. And then we react accordingly. If we're just doing instinctually and not practicing, not being mindful, not being aware, not using our concentration, if we don't have those faculties, we just simply repeat the same thing and actually deepen that and more solidify that samskara in our mind, that it becomes more difficult to remove. So that's why it's very important that many people say, and I tell people a lot, be careful what doors you open. Even though you may be curious about something, be very mindful as to what action you do. Hence, the precepts, the action, the um, teachings, as they would say, of morality within the yama, and Buddhism, the precepts allow us to, with our intellect, take into consideration whether this action, this experience, is what we need to imprint in our mind. And that actually goes through a lot of things. It's interesting that if you take it to an extreme level, which I don't think is extreme, I think it's actually logical. I just was thinking, all going through and scrolling through all of those images, such as TikTok and those kinds of things, those are imprints. And a lot of times you can't control what you're experiencing, right? So, on a person on the path of practice, we need to be very careful what occupies our mind. There is absolutely a restraint in what we allow to enter our, how do you say, our consciousness. because as you're switching through all of those, whether you stop and see them or watch them or not, there is some imprint that is going into your mind. This is samskara, and leaving that imprint, that there is some mental image, some karma that we've created, whether that is good or bad. Sometimes we are not in control of that. So that's why it's very important, just as you're careful with what you eat, it's careful in what you engage in. So this is a really interesting point that many people have spoken about, that, even this idea of screen regulation. And if you're trying to create a mind of dhyana, obviously having little quips of lots of information all the time uh, may not be the mind we wish to have, because I find that mind to be the mind, and maybe you experience as well. If you go through, first of all, you're getting all these images that you can't control, right? And those images are created to keep your attention or to influence you in some way, as we know, right? So in one way, it's a very kind of dangerous road to go down, because whether we know it, and this is even on the subconscious level, we are being influenced, whether we know it or not. And those things have to be worked out. And that's, in a lot of cases, those are things that maybe people don't have the capacity, because, you know, as we're working with AI, artificial intelligence, and also people whose job it is to keep your attention and to influence your choices and thoughts, hence the idea of consumerism, um, that is exactly what they're doing, and they're very good at it. Um, so therefore, we have to be very mindful and keep these precepts, that we're not engaging, as the Buddha simply said in the many sutras, which is interesting, because you want to break down Buddhism simply. He says, what is good for the Dharma? Do yes. If you have a question, if it's good for the Dharma for your practice, do it. If it's not, don't do it. It's that simple. So even though you probably experience as a Buddhist, you should be mindful that, when you're reading, when you're watching those things, um, I noticed when I had watched it, that a certain kind of anxiety started creeping up in my mind, a kind of unrestlessness, the opposite of what we wish to cultivate with through our practice, right? In calming those waves. But instead, those waves become very big. We start to be, how do you say, moved by something, and it's mixed with comedy, but also moved by things that maybe disturbing images you may see, images you may not be able to process, etc. As a practitioner, the Buddha has always said, guard your mind, guard your mind. But a lot of people do not guard their mind. They allow it to be easily influenced by external sources. So therefore, that is the idea of being, in Buddhism, that would be the concept of Mara, the trickster, the influencer, where we think that word influencer is a good word, but actually in many ways of our practice, it is not. So as it says in the sutra, that, many people even misunderstand this idea of yoga being that we are yoking, where they think it means to unite. But actually it means to separate things apart into the idea of what is beneficial for practice, what is not, and to be able to, through awareness, cultivate that which is good for practice, and to avoid that which is not. Okay, and you do have a choice. And if you don't have a choice, then you're not mindful. Mindfulness allows us an amazing opportunity, the intellect, to make proper choices in what we engage in, what makes our priority, how we eat, how we regulate our life, how we interact with others, what we spend our time doing, so that by the end of the day, you don't feel as if, oh, what did I spend my time doing? And those kinds of things, as you know, really suck you in. So it's very important, I think, as Buddhists, to try to do more human social contact intentionally, rather than simply things online. Now, again, we do share things online, and that this is a perfect example. Technology can be used. There was a great saying that in which town, which I'm trying to think of the country. So there was a country that's a Buddhist country, have to remember the name for a moment, in which it was not modernized. And then the one king wanted to bring in modernization. And with that, people had, as Buddhists, had the great concept to say, yeah, modernization, and that we are not afraid of as Buddhists. However, it would be sad if you know, if you've ever seen the temples with all the butter lamps, that if butter lamps were no longer lit because there was electricity, that would be sad, huh? Or the opposite of that being that without the benefits of modern technology, wouldn't it be sad that people cannot get together or people cannot have a education such as that? Very interesting that we need to compare and be mindful in all these aspects in our choices. So, thank you very much for making the choice to join us today. I hope you're doing well, and I hope you have a wonderful day full of mindfulness and awareness. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. See you tomorrow.